What's up everyone, Nick from ResoNix Sound Solutions here. Before we get into this video, I just want to show you one of our really cool products that I actually cut the costs on significantly recently, and that is the solderless custom RCA system. This is going to be the easiest to use, easiest way to make RCA runs in your car audio installation. No soldering required. It literally takes about 15 seconds to terminate each end. It's going to allow you to do custom runs of RCA cable without any of the hassle of having to solder all these little tiny parts. It's actually going to be easier to run than standard store-bought off-the-shelf RCAs because you're going to be able to run the cable a little bit extra length on it, trim it to length when it's ready to be installed, insert the terminal, screw it down, and you are good to go. We have the silver ends, we have the Y adapters, we have the right angles, we have the females. When you order the cable, it comes with the free cutter. You know, as you can see, the cable is able to be run in super tight tolerance bends and corners. It has excellent shielding. You know, it's all around just a really nice system. And like I said, I cut the costs on it significantly recently. It's gonna be on sale for a limited time, so get it while it's hot. How you do it, you know, some people have been confused by the new setup on the website recently, is just click here to add the cable, click here to add your ends, click here to add a Y splitter, you know, whatever you want to do, and you can adjust the quantities from there, add to cart, and you're good to go. How it works, I'm not really going to bore you with it. You know, you can watch this video down here, but the short answer is you pretty much just cut the cable, insert the end onto it, and tighten down this little set screw, and you are good to go. I guarantee you this is going to be the best solution for your car audio needs, and it's also going to be very price friendly relative to the competition out there, even including the standard off-the-shelf systems. So that being said, take a look and onto our video. Thanks for listening. Hey everyone, Nick from ResoNix Sound Solutions here at Luke Ouellet's get-together, the biannual get-together here in fall of 2024. And I have this guy right here. Who are you and what do you got?
My name is Ian Brandon. I'm running a 2021 Kia Stinger.
That's it.
That's it.
We'll see you guys later. No, there's nothing interesting going on here.
Oh, no.
No, tell us more about what you got going on here. I see a big sub.
Running an Audiomobile 44, what is it, 15?
Yeah, I think so. The Encore?
The Encore sub, yep. Single 15 in roughly 3 cubic foot sealed box. Amplification and DSP. So I'm running the DSP Pro 3 from Helix. That does all the processing. Running the Sound Digital GAN 2008 8-channel, bridge down to 6-channel for the front stage, and 2 matching Mosconi Pro 110s for front and rear sub.
Cool. So, tell me more about this selection on sub. You know, it's a big sub, but it seems like you still have a very usable trunk.
Right. Well, this sub will work in as little as, what, 1.25 cubic feet.
Thanks. And
it's only 4 inches deep, so it has some really good install options. I chose to run a bigger box with it to try to get lower extension for sound quality, but you don't have to do that. And even with, you know, the amount of space I used with it, it's still very usable trunk-wise. I can throw the cover on, throw groceries in there, do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the size of the car, this seems like the stock trunk size almost.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. So I guess let's hop in the front and we'll see what's going on. All right. So out of the gate, I see the AMTs right on the sail panels. Yep. You know, we have some mid-ranges up in the pillar. I'm gonna leave these doors open so we have a little bit of light. Okay. Because I think your windows are tinted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me more about what's going on in here.
All right, so we're doing a 3-way front stage, the Mundorf U60 tweeters, like you mentioned.
Yep.
4-inch mids, the Steg MSS 3s in the pillars, and the Karma 6.5-inch mid bass in the doors. And I'm running an Audiomobile 8-inch front sub inverted, firing towards the firewall for the front sub selection. So, you know, for those that don't know, Ian Brandon is probably the most habitual gear swapper in existence. How many steps have you taken since owning this car to get to where it is now? It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I would probably say.
Why don't we try counting it? This is actually not a video. This is actually an intervention. Why don't we talk about it?
Honestly, it's probably had 6 complete different iterations in the, 4 years I've owned the car? 3.5 years?
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it's got a little out of hand.
Yeah. Why don't you, do something else?
I did. I learned how to fix my install.
Yeah, I guess. So, speaking of learning, out of all of the changes you've made, what are some things you've learned to do from the start, and what have you learned not to do in general? Let's start with what have you learned along the way in this vehicle?
I mean, a whole bunch of stuff. First of all, I think the biggest thing I learned is that the car is a car is a car. And you're playing into the car's space, so you kind of need to play by the car's rules. And once you understand that the car is only going to give you X, Y, Z to play with, you need to figure out how to maximize what you're trying to do within those confines. And that's the biggest, issue with this hobby, I think, or whatever.
Especially with you, because you seem to like small cars.
I like smaller cars. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. I like stuff that's sporty and fast and doesn't have a lot of space to do anything. Even though this car is pretty big, it really doesn't have a ton of room everywhere to get stuff done.
So what was the biggest challenge in here as far as that goes?
I would say, honestly, would be continuing to use doors as mid-bass locations and taming them to the point where they actually are dead and don't add, a zillion different horrible overtones from vibrations and resonances. Absolutely. Resonant control in this car, because it's a nice car, but it's still a Kia, and it needed more ResoNix and, deadening and foam and ridiculous amounts of stuff to get it to the point it's at now.
Okay.
And it's probably the second most important thing in the install because it's going to affect everything.
What do you think the most important thing is?
Tuning.
Well, as far as install goes.
Oh, as far as install goes?
You said the second most important thing in the install. What's the most important thing in the install?
Placement.
I agree. Speaker placement.
100%.
So I'm willing to bet you had a challenge in this car with speaker placement.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, if I close the doors, we can take a look. I'm going to just close it for a second, but, it's not very bright in here. But you have pillar mids and sail panel tweeters. What kind of issues do you face here, or do you face issues at all?
Yeah, the biggest issues I faced, reflections, comb filtering from the pillars. This is my third set of pillars in this car, and the first two sets were definitely made too small. They didn't do anything for me. They didn't play low enough to even mate up with the mids properly. So I guess the biggest thing is compromise. It's like, do you want extension or do you want reflections? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. That's one thing I learned for sure.
Yeah.
I've done these tweeter pods 3 times over. I brought them out a couple inches more forward and away from the window, just enough. And the particular dispersion pattern of these tweeters actually kind of helps the soundstage right now where they're placed, a little away from the window, and a little bit of reflections didn't really hurt anyone, so it works out.
Cool.
I can't do dash locations, so I built the biggest pillars I could, feel comfortable with still being able to drive the car safely.
Why couldn't you do dash locations?
Because,
Because you're not a crazy person and you're not going to cut up your car for the sake of ruining a car.
I'm not willing to do dash locations in this car.
I was actually talking to Miguel Rios of Waveform Tuning, who tuned this for you, and I was actually, he was like, I keep telling him to do dash, and I actually disagreed with him. I was like, I don't think in this car, dash is a good idea. And the reason for that is because of how aggressive
that hump.
It's hard to see in this video, but this is a very aggressive, this is probably the most aggressive gauge cluster hump I've seen on a modern car. It is much bigger in person than what I'm seeing on the screen of this video. But having the mid far in that corner and having that mid far in that corner, you have no obstruction there, but you have ridiculous obstruction and near reflections here. And it would be a good location in a vacuum, on its own. But then you introduce this and you have totally different reflections from left to right, and you have big, big problems. And I was telling Miguel, if I were to change anything about the mid location, I would actually move it from here and just kind of drop it down here a little bit and get it even further away from that. Because I think, as you said, everything is a compromise.
Right.
And normally, I wouldn't want to mid-range that close, but I think in this vehicle, that would be the best compromise. And also, you wouldn't have giant things. So, if you want to get changing again, I just gave you an idea.
No more projects.
So, You know, to anyone who is as ridiculous as you and is swapping equipment every other day, what
not
kind
that
of
much.
It's close, and I think I'm more right than I am wrong.
Probably.
Yeah. At least bi-weekly. There's something going on in here bi-weekly. Am I wrong?
No, not really.
To anyone that is thinking about changing something or upgrading something, you've done it more than anyone. What kind of advice would you give?
Well, I definitely think, I mean, I've traded out a lot of gear, obviously, like Nick said. Some of it positive, you know, some of it negative, some of it just unnecessary. And that's usually, I've been trying to chase.
You know what? Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah.
What has been, and you know, like I'm not asking for like brand names or specific products, but like what has been an unnecessary or even a negative change that you thought was going to net you a positive?
Well, let's say with my last amp setup, I didn't like the gain structure. I added a line driver to it, which was, the component was good. It was noise free and did its job, but it also took away a ton of the signal, added another component to deal with, and I was doing that to fix something where if I spent a little more time understanding the gain structure in the Helix processor, I could have eliminated that, saved myself a bunch of time and money, and now, obviously, as you saw, it's not in the car, don't need it, because I learned to set up a good gain structure.
There you go.
And had help with Go, and from Nick as well.
Yeah, I think I told you that last time you were
you
here,
did.
right?
You
Or
did.
2 times ago?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I saw it and I was like, why the hell do you have that line driver? What are you doing? It's not 1982.
Right. it was under, you know, reference from someone else, but either
Everybody's
way.
heading out.
Yep, I'm out of here.
Have a good one.
We'll talk to you soon.
Good seeing you. So, what was another unnecessary or even again a net negative, quote unquote, upgrade that you've made along the way, and what did you learn from it?
I don't know if it's like, if I have a lot of completely negative stories. I said more just like lateral moves
Yeah.
that didn't gain me anything. Cost me money and time. You know, some stuff, you know, wasn't all about, but usually my biggest thing was swapping out speakers. If I didn't like how something sounded, I'd buy a new set of tweets. Or if I was chasing something or the way I heard another car sound, I'd buy that equipment, try to emulate it, and didn't really understand why it didn't work out exactly the way I wanted to. Because it basically came down to tuning and understanding and placement and all these things like we talked about already.
Yeah.
This
And
car did not
you
come.
always had good equipment.
Yeah.
And you went from good equipment to good equipment to good equipment to good equipment to good equipment. And I was like, Ian, can you just tune your goddamn car?
For sure, yeah. And no.
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 I want to swap stuff. I want to stay working and doing labor and,
Right.
you know, spending time.
If I spent a lot more time tuning or learning how to tune, you know, if I knew what I knew now a year ago, I would have saved myself a lot of time and hassle, and this car would have come together a lot sooner. But
I think that's the biggest one, actually. You just said it. A lot of people tell me, like, oh, but I like the process of it.
right,
You know, me personally, you know, I've done this professionally for a long time. Frankly, I'm over doing labor for the sake of doing labor. Like, this is no longer, like, car audio is fun for me, but doing the actual install, it's not fun for me anymore. You know, it's labor, it's time intensive, it's, you know, it hurts your body. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a
it's
lot.
always a hassle. But to me, it is, I would much rather understand everything and plan it out and get it done immediately out of the get-go so I don't have to waste time in the future, number one. But number two, I can enjoy the end result for longer.
right. Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah. So now you're finally enjoying the end result, but you've had the car for 4 years.
True.
That's longer than you typically have a car, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you figured out the car, you're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna sell it now.
No. You know, normally that would be, I know what I'm getting next, but
What is it?
GLC, AMG, Mercedes SUV,
Yeah?
Yeah.
You get an SUV? Why?
because it has mid-bass in the firewall.
Okay, Peter.
Because it's halfway done.
Yeah.
No, I'll have this car for at least another 2 seasons. I have no plans to get rid of this car right now. I'm happy with this thing though.
Yeah, it
really
should
am.
be. It sounds
It,
good. I heard it
it came
earlier
together.
today. Any other questions that I can ask that can help anyone else? Ooh, I'm just looking around.
The peer pressure of group forums, don't listen to them.
Don't listen to them.
Don't.
Yeah, I would suggest that same thing. Do not listen to forums. It's 99% bad advice and 1% lucky good advice. But anyways, what is something that you learned about tuning recently or in the past year or so that has helped you get to the end result? Because you were talking about, I wish I learned more about tuning sooner.
Right.
What is something that you learned about tuning recently that you think other people could benefit from?
Well, measuring is something you told me years ago. You need to learn how to measure better, was the thing.
Not just measuring.
Right, not just measuring, understanding what you're measuring, understanding how your brain interprets that measurement, and understanding how to take that measurement and apply it to the real world, your car.
Cool.
I think that's a big deal.
And you've learned a lot about measurements recently?
I have. I feel like I have.
All right.
Also, you know what? This is a big thing that wasn't mentioned. That's a big thing. A reference. Having a solid, you can't tell anything sounds good or not without a solid reference.
So I agree and I disagree. Having a solid reference is really good for getting to the really final goal. But believe it or not, I don't think you need to have the best reference in the world to make your car sound good.
No, not at all. But you should have some sort of reference
You wanna know
as a
something
goal
crazy?
to get through.
I didn't have a reference system until 6 months ago. I had nothing. My cars. The cars that I built and the cars that I tuned were, at the end of the day, to me, it was, it was basic physics,
Right.
Everything can be, it's timing, it is phase, and it's frequency response. That's simple. It's either correct or it's not, and there's ways to verify it, there's ways to, not verify it, and over time, you can kind of sort of piece together what's going on. But yeah, getting a reference did help. Let's just say I was at my shop tuning my car, and I hit an end result. I'm like, all right, I'm done for the night. I could go home and turn on my system and be like, okay, I can drive home, spend the 8 minutes in my car, listen, and then hop right inside real quick and be like, okay, this is very close, or this is not close. What was I doing?
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Any last words? What are you going to swap to next? What are you swapping next?
Not.
You sure?
I am.
I am willing to. You are?
Oh, no, I'm not swapping anything out.
You sure?
Yeah. Mark my words.
All right, mark my words.
I am not going to
Mark my words. The next year, or maybe even 6 months from now, when we do this again, I guarantee you something is going to be changed in this car. You're going to bet against that?
Well.
I
want to finish. I want to do a few things to the trunk to jazz it up a little bit. I want to make a grill to the sub. But I can promise that I'm not going to swap any gear, any primary components in the system.
He's lying.
For next season. I'm not. It's going to be the same.
He's lying.
We'll do this next spring, and it's going to look. We'll have the same stuff in it.
Okay.
Maybe.
Oh, thanks for talking. You're a fucking jackass. Yeah, this is Ian 5 minutes later.
Man,
Actually, not even. We literally just got out of his car and walked right over here.
Time for some upgrades.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Oh, you are an addict.
They're so cute.
Does it come in white to match his car?
You actually can get the covers in different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can. So think about that.
Be upside down
Go play with it. Go see how it fits in your car and let me know what you think. I'll see you later. All right.